そうですね。あ、じゃあ一言だけいいですか？
Take your time, buddy. Take your time.
もちろん。
I looked up the icon for Curacao.
私にもお別れの挨拶してくれるの？
Oh my god. Can you not? Curacao was expressionless for some reason.
まあな。必要なかったか？
私なんかよりも先に真帆先輩には挨拶したんでしょうね。
Ouch.
ちゃんとしたわよ。
Maho interjected before I could speak.
それならいいけど。
Curacao was inside my screen. Was it a good thing that I'd spoken to her like this? Or a bad thing? In the end, I knew I needed to forget about Makise Curacao, but I couldn't. I couldn't escape from this
アク
curse.
セス権がなくなったらもう会えなくなるな。
まあ、私の話し相手になってくれたことには多少は感謝してる。レスキネン教授の研究室に来る可能性はあるんでしょ？一応再会するときまであんたのことは覚えておいてあげる。
Oh my god. Stop it, Curacao.
ツンデレだな。
What's a tsundere? A character who is a soon, perky and cold in public, but who becomes dere, warm and loving in private, also the personality type itself. However, in recent years, the definitions have become somewhat vague.
ツンデレ？何それ？知らない言葉を使わないで。
Oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
顔が赤いぞ。
この子照れ。
クリスはシャイだね。
もう教授まで。
元気でというのはちょっと違うな。君は
Make
別
sure you
に
don't get any
病気
viruses.
にはならないわけだし、あまりヒアジョーさんのことをからかうなよ。
はいはい、言われなくても分かってるわよ。
それならいいんだ。
あんたがいつかそんな風に寂しそうに笑うんじゃなくて、心の底から笑える日が来るといいわね。
I do too. I guess even an AI could see right through me. Makise Curacao really was one hell of a woman.
それじゃ。
Bye.
あ、
Curacao disappeared from my screen. I turned to Dr. Laskinen and nodded, and deleting the Amadeus icon from my screen.
アクセス権の解除は後でこちらで手続きしておくよ。テスターとして協力してくれてありがとう。
こちらこそありがとうございました。
I bowed deeply to both Maho and Dr. Laskinen. As I watched their plane take off into the distance, I noticed that it felt like there was a hole in my heart. I clutched my phone tightly. Its connection to Amadeus was gone. Oh. Presage or recognize? Ah, Kagari.
かがりちゃん、今日から私とあなたは正式な親子になるのよ。
This was when Kagari was 6. She'd been living in a facility for war orphans and getting a treatment at a dedicated clinic next door. It was a completely different place than the normal hospitals, which were overflowing with casualties from the war. It was an idyllic garden, shut off from the despair of the outside world so that the children could live in peace. That was where she'd met her mom. Mom, Sheena Mayuri, was a Class 2 caregiver at the facility who was always very nice to her.
本当？ママがかがりの本当のママになるの？ええ、そうよ。やった！
It was impossible to express with words how happy Kagari had felt. Being Mom's real daughter meant that Kagari had become her real name. Kagari became Sheena Kagari.
ほら、くっつかないの。かがりちゃんは甘えん坊さんね。じゃあ、ここから出られるんだよね。ママと一緒に暮らせるんだよね。ごめんね。かがりちゃんにはもう少し治療が必要みたい
I'd
な
rather
の。
live here. It's better than on the run from a military constantly. Man, it's in a war.
そういうことなんだ。
あ、先生。
Kagari didn't know the doctor's name, but he was a nice old man who was always kind to her.
あと半年もすれば終わるからね。それまで我慢するんだよ。
半年もですか？この前のお話では、
And 2 weeks, 6 months, same
あと2週間ぐら
thing.
いで大丈夫だと。
It'll feel like 2 weeks.
それは身体的な傷の話なんだ。東京大空襲で子供が受けた心的外傷後ストレスはそれに昨日の診断で分かったことなんだが、かがりちゃんはまだ怖い夢を見るらしい。
そうなの？かがり、そんなことないもん。もう怖い夢なんて見ないよ。楽しい夢ばっかりだよ。楽しい楽しい。
かがりちゃん、嘘は良くないよ。それでは治療はもっと長引いてしまう。
You shouldn't lie to your mother.
夜中に怖い夢にうなされて起きることが未だによくあるのだと昨日話してくれたよね。
まあ、そうなの。
この子の脳内に空爆の記憶が恐怖として残っている証拠だろうね。きちんと治療しておかなければ後で取り返しがつかなくなる。
そうですね。
というわけで治療を続けてもよろしいかね、お母さん。
あ、はい、かがりちゃん。頑張って悪い病気をやっつけようね。
Mom rubbed her head. Kagari felt so at peace that she could cry.
わかった。
いい子だ。
じゃあまた後でね、かがりちゃん。
Mom took her hand away, and instead the doctor took Kagari's hand. She was taken to the usual room. There was a white reclining chair, and next to it was some kind of mechanical system connected to a headset.
聞こえる。いつもの声。
君はママを守るんだ。この世界を守るんだ。そのために君は生まれてきたんだよ。
Oh, well, that's not good. She couldn't remember when she started hearing the voice, but by the time she was 6, whenever she was worried or uncertain or in trouble, she could hear it. It was always kind and strong. It always cheered her up. How does that cheer you up? In Kagari's childish mind, she started to think it might be the voice of God. Since only she could hear it, everyone else said it was just an illness, but Mom was the only one person who believed her.
ママを守るんだ。だから治療頑張るんだ。
Start them when they're young, I guess. Kagari's young heart was filled with hope and that she could someday live with her mom. Oh, God. As soon as she opened the door, Kagari was struck by an unpleasant wave of heat. It was early June, and this was the first day to hit summer temperatures. It was hot enough that just walking outside could cause you to sweat, but this small Japanese-style room had thick curtains and the windows were closed. The room was dark and cramped, and there were so many clothes on the floor that there was no place to stand. It wasn't just clothes, there was also all kinds of filthy things, bags with half-eaten snack bread still in them, half-rotten food packs, plastic convenience store bags overflowing with trash, all scattered around the floor. In the area around the half-naked girl sitting against the wall was covered in bandages and gauze soaked with blood and pus. There were bandages tied around her exposed stomach, chest, and limbs, but those two were soaked with blood. The room was filled with a sickeningly sweet stench, though there was no way to know if it was coming from the garbage or coming from her. The owner of the room, Kirio Moeka, raised her head and looked at her, eyes filled with hope.
M4 まだ生きてたか?
That's not Kagari's voice. When she saw Kagari, who was still wearing her shoes as she came into the room, her shoulders slumped.
FB ちゃん。誰? 命の恩人に向かってひどい言い草ね。
Moeka gave a painful cough and spit up some stomach fluid mixed with blood. It stained her thighs and the floor. Her wound must have opened again because the bandages around her stomach began to turn red. She'd spent 5 months like this with no treatment from a doctor. She's gonna die. Moika had gotten into a gunfight with the Russian army and failed her mission as a rounder. How is she not dead if you've been bleeding like that for 5 months? She'd lost 2 of her companions and her target. Kurisu's laptop was also destroyed. They pinned the blame on her. She was wounded and almost killed. It was Kagari who saved her and brought her to this room. But if someone with a gunshot wound went to the hospital, the police would be notified, and for that reason, she'd never gotten any real treatment. Her wounds had become infected, and even 5 months later, they still brought her incredible pain. Her terrible fever hadn't let up at all, and it wasn't rare for it to go from 39 degrees to over 40. But Moika didn't seem very interested in her wounds. She was more interested in sending messages with the phone in her hands. She must have been sending more messages to her beloved boss. In the past 5 months, she'd sent almost 1,000. Still crazy. FB was Moika's boss in the Rounders, a woman who always gave orders to Moika via text message. Moika worshipped her to a degree that far exceeded that could occur within a normal employee relationship. The shock of being abandoned by FB and hurt her many more times than her actual wounds. Kagari tossed the bag she'd slung over her shoulder at Moika's feet along with the 2 plastic bags. The backpack was filled with medicine and wasn't available without a doctor's prescription. Along with it was a whole box of illegal drugs used only for the treatment of severe pain. Normally these would be kept under strict control at a hospital, where no normal person could get them. Nothing like some morphine. But both of the plastic bags were filled with canned goods and other things Kagari had chosen because they had the lowest probability of spoiling. But Moika didn't seem to notice Kagari at all anymore. She was completely unresponsive. Kagari had gotten used to her attitude over the last 5 months, but she wasn't going to go home today. She wordlessly reached for Moika's cell phone. Moika tried to resist, but evidently she had no strength left. Kagari was easily able to grab the phone. It was covered in blood and pus, but Kagari forced it into her pocket without hesitation. Nothing like some diseases. Moika started crawling back towards her. It was like something out of a zombie movie. Yeah, that sounds like fucking Suzawa. Moika froze.
FB.
Kagari took another cell phone out of her pocket. It was the same Japanese cell phone that Moika had been using, minus the dirt and bloodstains. I've heard Suzawa enough times saying Russians and Americans to know that's Suzawa's voice actress. Moika reached in trembling hand out toward the phone. I will not. No. So she can look like her too, rather than just sound like her. That would be pretty weird. In an instant, she snatched it away and clutched it to her chest like it was her own child.
FB はこの携帯なら多分もう来てるはずよ。
Moika quickly opened the screen on the phone. When she saw the words on the screen, tears started to flow down her face.
M4 私の可愛い娘大変だったわね私もとても心を痛めています失敗したことは残念だったけれど早く傷を治して私からの次のメールを今度こそ任務を完全に遂行しあなたのことを心から私の大切な大切な娘へ
Of course, the message wasn't from FB. Kagari had written herself. Yeah, no shit. Keep someone at the brink of death for 5 months and then give them exactly what they want as bait, and you can easily put anyone under your control. Kagari knew this well. You could probably have done that after 2 days with Moeka. The life suddenly returned to Moeka's face. She spilled out the contents of Kagari's backpack like a woman possessed. Time to shoot up. Kagari smiled, satisfied, and knelt down in front of her. No, please keep them on. When Kagari left the apartment, the sun had set. She'd spent several hours treating Moeka's wounds. Her hands still smelled of medicine. It wouldn't go away for days, possibly. She sighed and put on her full-face motorcycle helmet, then went to the parking lot and got on her bike. She whispered. She took off on her motorcycle. Crazy. Hey, Rentaro. It was almost July. The rainy season hadn't been that bad this year, and what little remained of it had already disappeared. Temperature-wise, summer had come a long way ago. A long time ago. In other words, it had almost been a year since it happened. And then one Saturday afternoon, if I stayed home, not only would it be hot, but Dad would be on my case about helping out with the family business. To get away, I'd come to the area around Ikebukuro Station. A year ago, I could have gone to the lab, but with Suza living there now, I'd mostly stopped going. But that meant it was hard to find a place to study on my days off. It was too much trouble to go to university, and the classrooms probably weren't open on weekends anyway. After a lot of research, I settled on spending my few days visiting this cafe near my parents' home and spending a few hours there. In fact, a lot of other patrons did the same thing, buying a single cup of coffee and sitting there for hours on end. Some brought books, some computers. I chuckled to myself as I realized that I joined the ranks of other normals. Mayuri? Where are you? Usual cafe. Just went to your place, you went home. Oh, wait for me. So she went to my house. I mean, all this stuff is what I've done already. Family, the place is almost 40 years old. Mayuri was going to be here in less than 15 minutes, so maybe it was time to call it a day. I'd worked pretty hard during the morning, so it wasn't too bad. I was a little surprised at how hard I'd been working lately. I could feel how having a goal gave me energy. I was still in contact with Maho. She was always sleeping. I took out my phone. I found myself looking for a certain icon on the home screen. But of course I deleted it myself 6 months ago. Amadeus. Was Kurisu doing well? Knowing her, she was probably coming up with some complicated theory or teasing Maho. It was also possible that she was visiting Ad Channel and hiding it from Maho. That's right, Kurisu had internet access, so it would make sense if she accessed Ad Channel. But given that... Kurisu would spend a lot of effort last summer trying to argue with John Teeter on Ad Channel. What happened in Alpha Worldline, though? Still, it meant that she was okay with posting. So there was a chance that Kurisu was doing the same. If Amadeus had even temporary access to the network, then just maybe. I opened the web browser on my smartphone when, without expecting it, ran a search for a nickname I'd never forget. Curry Gohan. And it was the handle that Kurisu had once used. I spoke without thinking. I bowed my head a little towards the other customers who were staring at me coldly and looked back at my smartphone. Amazing. Amazingly, the search turned up several hundred results. They were all comments on Ad Channel. I took a look at the dates on the result pages. The oldest date back to 2008. These must have been written by Kurisu when she was alive. I never expected to see traces of her here. I didn't realize how much she spent this much time on Ad Channel. Her comments were spread out over a lot of different boards: physics, mathematics, science fiction. Oh, and of course the occult boards. For example, in the science fiction thread, she had passionate discussions about Time Machine. But unlike in the Alpha Worldline, she never came out and denied the possibility of a time machine. Surprisingly, some of her comments seemed to be quite the opposite. After all, she had gone through a lot of work required to write a paper on Time Machine. Compared to that, her comments on the occult board were brutal. She would absolutely crush the arguments of anyone who dared to propose anything even the least bit unscientific. Supernatural phenomena like crop circles, poltergeists, and spontaneous human combustion. Out-of-place artifacts, the Mayan doomsday calendar, conspiracy theories about how DNA has been brought from another planet. She broke them down and refuted them with occult thoroughness that even drove away her own side. And if anybody dared challenge her, she'd leave them flames flat on the canvas. It was just like Kurisu. Her comments offered so little room for discussion, it was aggravating to read them. Did she actually enjoy all this occult stuff? She put enough energy into this that I couldn't help but wonder. The first time I met her at last year's ATF, I'd gone through the same experience. But after a certain point, the Kuri Gohan comment suddenly stopped. The cutoff date was July 27th of last year, the day Kurisu died. Her last comment was a slightly too heated response to someone who was mocking Dr. Nakabachi's Time Machine press conference. My chest tightened with the sensations of nostalgia and sorrow. I decided to close the browser. But then I stopped as soon as I saw her next comment. I brought the phone closer to my face and stared at it again and again. The date of the comment was December 1st, 2010. Kurisu died in July 2010. So this couldn't possibly be her. So who was it? Was it someone else who'd taken the identity of her? Or was it? Since there was no trip code, I couldn't tell for certain. An encoded string of characters that appears next to a name on the Ad Channel message board by entering the name as name, # some word, and you can cause some word to appear in an encrypted form. December 1st was just after Maho and Dr. Leskinen had come to Japan, and also about the time I'd encountered Kurisu. After that, Kuri Gohan and commented about a rate at once per week, which is the time she's probably allowed to be on the internet. I looked at it for the most recent comment. It was a discussion about relativity theory. So you're one of those people who thinks that Michelson-Morley experiment led to the development of relativity theory, and no wonder you aren't making any sense. She really did get a foul mouth when she went on Ad Channel. Go WW. No point even talking to you. But then I realized that she said the same thing to me face to face. Go back to grade school. If this wasn't some imposter, if this was Kurisu, what a miraculous and yet stupid story. Did Maho and Dr. Leskinen know about this, I wonder? Probably not. Kurisu wasn't going to tell them. I couldn't help but laugh. Should I try to make contact with her? I wanted to see if this Kuri Gohan was really Kurisu. And then I came back with a good handle. Salieri's neighbor. And of course, this was a knockoff of Maho's ID. If Kuri Gohan was really Kurisu, she'd have access to it, right? Okay. I thought I smelled moron. It's true that the original purpose of that experiment was only to prove the existence of ether, but you can't deny that it helped Einstein. As a result, you can say that it formed the basis of his theories. Someone needs to go back to school, and it ain't me. And there, it's posted. How about that? I wrote something deliberately provocative, and importantly, I mixed in some mistakes. Not to brag, but I thought I knew a lot more about Kurisu than Maho did. Nothing like some good old bait. The act of catching fish also refers to deliberately provoking someone on an anonymous internet message board or typing in deliberately false information and enjoying the angry response. What? At some point, Mayuri had walked up in front of me. I'd been so busy writing my comment that I hadn't noticed. I hurriedly put the phone away and stood up. Mayuri and I left the cafe. Mayuri and I met up at Tokyo Hands. When I stepped inside the air-conditioned store, I felt refreshed. If it was the hot in June, I shuddered to think what it was going to be like in July or August. August is the worst. Thank God it's over.
商品宣伝用のポップを作るんだ。だからそれ用のカードとか。
今年はコミマで同人誌でも出す気か？
違うよ。岡部製菓店で使うんだよ。
は？なんだって？
For family business.
今日オカリンの家に行った時にね、おじさんとそんな話になって、じゃあマユシーが作りますって。
おいおい。
My dad could be such a jerk.
お前がそんなことする必要ないんだぞ。
でもマユシーがやりたいからやって。
本当にいいのか？
オカリンやおじさんおばさんには。
じゃあ代わりに今度何かプレゼントするよ。
本当？嬉しいな。
I took a quick look around and saw that they were all selling a lot of things you could use for advertising. I decided to mostly leave the purchasing decisions up to Mayuri. She spent quite a while deciding what to buy. But well, maybe because of all the time she spent in May Queen, her taste ran in the direction of cute anime. Doesn't really fit a business, but okay.
野菜や果物を売るのにハート型なんてどう使うつもりだ？
例えばこんな風に書くのはどうかな。おっきな松茸くん。今夜のおかずに奥さんいかが？
What?
あとは甘くてとろりん。
あ、お前まさか知らないうちにダルに洗脳されたわけじゃないよな。ああ、いや、なんでもない。
Mayuri looked confused and completely oblivious.
とにかくハート型のポップは不許可だ。うちが怪しい店に見えてしまう。
そうかな。可愛いと思うけどな。
可愛くなくていいんだって。
It's a fucking grocery store. You don't need to be cute. My original intention not to interfere had gone by the wayside.
これ以上買っても絶対余るぞ。
My shopping cart was filled with cardstock of various colors and shapes.
これだけあれば当分困らないだろ。
そうだね。じゃあここまでにしよう。
We went to the cash register to check out, but since it was Saturday, the checkout area was overflowing with shopping carts. Since it was going to take a while, I sent Mayuri to browse the toy selection of another floor. I knew they'd had some stuff from her favorite shows, Rainet Kakuro. Mayuri looked apologetic, but did what I had told her to. In the end, I waited a whole 15 minutes at the register. As an apology, I decided to get the present I'd promised her. The little keychain thing. She seemed really happy when she stared at the keychain. It was an Upa, the mascot character. I told her that when she went over to the toy section, she could pick out something she wanted, and this is what she chose.
Upa ならもう大量に持ってるのに。しかもそれって普通の緑色のウーパだろ？
That's the new one!
レアなのは確かメタルウーパだっけか。
The most popular and rarest of the Upas was the shiny silver metal Upa. For example, whenever there was a lottery for rare Rainet Kakuro stuff at the convenience store, the top prize was always a metal Upa. Mayuri had told me once that they sold for tens of thousands of yen at auction. For some reason, Mayuri was wagging her finger at me. Fucking hospital it is. Fubuki was at a different location than before. This time it was at the AH Tokyo General Hospital. It was supposedly one of Japan's most advanced hospitals. Leskinen's probably not here, actually. We didn't get a little thing. According to what I read on the internet, patients with the new encephalitis that everyone was talking about were gathered here for special treatment. But I'd also read lots of really bad urban legends about the place, and I was a bit worried what kind of horror show I found here. But of course, when we arrived, it was nothing like that. It was very clean, decorated like a luxury hotel. No, hey Yuki, how's it going? God, I missed her. Kaide and Yuki waved to us as we entered the lobby. Yuki had gotten a message from Kaide as well, and it had evidently come right over. Yuki gave Mayuri a soft hug and a smile. Kaide bowed her head apologetically. Better to be, scary than downplaying it.
中瀬さんの容体は?
今、病室で吹雪ちゃんのお母さんに会えたんですけど、例の病気が悪化したとかじゃないそうです。